Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. This is the Tisch WNET studio here in the heart of New York City, Lincoln Center. We have him back. He's Steven Goldstein. He's the author of a compelling book called The Turn On, How the Powerful Make Us Like Them from Washington to Wall Street to Hollywood. Steven has been a friend of the show for a long time.
Great to see you.
Different capacities. By the way, you becoming a rabbi?
I am. So I'm a civil rights lawyer, a TV producer, and now I'm in rabbinical school.
And
Halfway through.
Good luck.
Thank you. You know, I can do this interview in Aramaic if you want.
You could.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'd appreciate that on PBS, but let's try to stay focused. Previous life, check out previous interviews we did with Stephen, Garden State Equality, Anne Frank work as well. Here we go. This book, Likeability. What is it, a formula? What is it, science?
Look, let me tell you how I came up with this book, Steve.
Go ahead.
I, 25 years ago, had two very different jobs. I was a lawyer for Chuck Schumer when he was chair of the U.S. House Judiciary Committee. That job ended on a Friday, and 2 days later, I was a producer for Oprah Winfrey.
Yes, you are.
So left brain, right brain. And I started to take notes at both jobs. What makes a compelling witness? And as we tape this is the day that we have an impeachment hearing, and you could
December 4th, we're taping, the report came out.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Go ahead.
You could see which witnesses are likable and not. And so I took notes on what personality traits.
The ambassador, very likable.
Very likable.
I'm just saying.
Extremely likable.
Not my opinion. I'm just, you know.
Very likable. And then when I went to Oprah, I would take notes on what makes guests likable. Oh, I had about 30 traits in each job. They turned out to be really similar. I boiled them down to 8. That was 25 years ago, and I took notes at jobs ever since. And the premise of my book is that likability can be manufactured by behind-the-scenes people only to an extent. Meaning, if a public figure seeks to be too far from who he or she is in real life, it won't work. They'll be found out. Like Richard Nixon. He was actually a self-insightful man in that he knew he was terribly unlikable.
After he loses the campaign in 1962, he's in an interview on PBS. He loses the campaign in California for governor. He said, I'm done. No one's going to turn me into a character. This is it.
Now, nobody says that Richard Nixon was truthful because it was in 1962, after he lost the governor's race, that he hired a producer for Jack Paar to make him more likable. So Nixon spent from 62 to 68 actually being coached and coaching himself to become more likable.
By the way, Roger Ailes was involved in trying to shape him as well. But the likability thing.
Yes.
Can we break down some of the characteristics?
Sure.
Is authenticity one of them?
Let me tell you something, Stephen, I bet you'll agree. When I hear a talking head on television say that people want authenticity, I break out into laughter. People don't want to watch people on television be authentic. Authentic means we have good moods, we have bad moods. Authentic means we don't talk in sound bites. Authentic means that we're not attacking another political candidate all the time for the sake of live entertainment to break out of a debate.
Oh, and why do we say we want authenticity?
We want faux authenticity. We want, right? It's oxymoronic.
Go ahead.
We want a version of authenticity. It's the one trait, and I present 8 traits of likability, that I say is complicated because we don't want what we think we want. People want escapism. And people also have a very short attention span. You know, the first trait in my book is captivation. You have to interest people. In the day and age of 500 cable channels,
Social media,
people have the shortest attention span ever. That's how we go from Barack Obama to Donald Trump.
So this is
It's not ideological. We want something new.
Hold on. Oh, sorry for
Yeah.
interrupting, Stephen.
Yeah.
You're saying that Donald Trump, our president, is of this time and likely would not have been able to be elected at a different time?
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Is he likable or likable by enough?
So here's what I say in my book. No secret, I'm a progressive Democrat.
So I've heard.
So I've heard. So you've heard. I try to bend over backwards. Donald Trump was likable enough to enough people in 2016 to allegedly win the presidency. And
He won the presidency. He won the Electoral College.
He did, but
let's not debate
let's not debate that.
Okay.
He did. Whether he really won those states is another story.
So You know, I had written several times and said, not in public television in this capacity, because we don't do that, but in some op-ed pieces at some of the other cable networks, I said that I did not think Hillary Clinton was likable by enough people, and it was going to be a problem. And the pushback I got was intense. I'm just saying, subjectively, anecdotally, wasn't feeling it.
So you were right. I agree with you. I say it in the book, and I was a supporter and delegate for Hillary Clinton. I think people compare Elizabeth Warren to Hillary Clinton because they're studious, brilliant women. I think that's unfair to Elizabeth Warren. Now,
I saw a 60 Minutes piece about Elizabeth Warren. Check it out. I see it differently, but go ahead.
I see Elizabeth Warren completely different from Hillary Clinton. I think Elizabeth Warren does come across as actually more real, authentic. I mean, Elizabeth Warren is a policy wonk. Elizabeth Warren is not trying to round out her edges so obviously. Yes, she does shtick, likability shtick, like take 90,000 selfies. That's a tool for likability. But she's comfortable. She seems comfortable with who she is. She is a policy wonk. Hillary Clinton, whom I love and loved, didn't quite seem comfortable with being the brilliant woman that she is, the policy wonk that she is.
She didn't embrace it.
She didn't embrace it. She was trying to be a softer person. You know what, Hillary? You're the smartest person who ever ran for president of the United States. I think that's pretty awesome. Embrace it.
Can I try some other people?
Yes.
And by the way, you've described this likability thing in politics comparable to dating?
Yes.
Wow.
So let me say this, Steve. Likability is not being nice. A lot of people, I bet people who have worked for you are asked, is Steve Adubato nice? That's the
question I hope they don't ask. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No. And I tell
By the way, they have an
everybody,
entire control room going, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, but so that's what people think is likable. It's not. Likability is having a combination of qualities that compels the average person into a relationship with you. Likability can be strength. It can be toughness. It's what draws people in. Nobody, not even Donald Trump's fans, would say that he's a nice person. He's never run
Would they say he's empathetic?
They would not. You know what? Actually, let me correct that. Some might. Some might. Some in his crowds might. Some in his crowds might think he's speaking for us. You or I may not get it, but there's a constituency. I'm not projecting views on you, right?
My definition of empathy is it's different than what others might think.
Okay. So when we go out on a date with somebody, we evaluate them in 4 stages. Stage 1, are they captivating? And are they optimistic? Are they hopeful? Stage 2, are they authentic and relatable? Stage 3, are they protective and reliable? Stage 4, are they compassionate and perceptive? Each of those traits are sort of symbiotic. And as we progress from one pair of traits to the 4th, we decide that we like this person, and it goes from dating, perhaps, to marriage. We evaluate public figures the same way.
Except, I want to push back a little bit.
Yeah.
As a student of leadership, writes about it, teaches it, thinks about it, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. Colin Powell once said to me in an interview when I asked him about the definition of leadership in a book I was writing, he said, Steve, sometimes great leaders have to piss people off. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, they make tough decisions. And some people will not like it. They'll be peeved. They'll talk about them behind their back. They'll be angry about it. But the leader, he or she, must make that tough decision on behalf of the larger good. You're not liked. Leaders, it is, my opinion, hard for leaders to be liked by most, if not all, because of the nature of being a leader, you say?
I agree with that. And in fact, I write in the book that likability does involve polarization. That meaning it's better to be liked by 50% of the people than be liked by 100% of the people. Because if you're liked by 100% of people, that likability is so not deep. It's so milquetoast. I mean, you and I both know people whom probably everyone likes, and you walk away saying, what do they stand for? And this person wouldn't be in a foxhole with me. I wouldn't be in a foxhole with them. So all it means is that you need to have the 8 traits to your base, just like everybody has a political base, people
Yes.
have a likability base.
I'm fascinated by this. And by the way, before I let you go, your background, and we've talked about this before, I have to get this out of the way. How much further along are we, in your view, when it comes to back in the 80s? I don't want to go too far back. As a former state legislator, you know my background.
I do.
And I remember being a part of a movement to anti-discrimination legislation in New Jersey. Long story short, barred people from discriminating against those based on sexual orientation for housing and employment. Okay, finally passed many years later. How much further along are we?
In terms of discrimination?
Not simply acceptance and this thing called tolerance, but the heck with that. Just saying, who cares?
So, Steve, it depends on the community. Here's what's heartbreaking. I think my LGBTQ community has made incredible strides. We have a credible candidate for the presidency of the United States. Whether he'll win or not,
Pete Buttigieg.
I don't know whether he'll win or not, but he's as credible.
That in and of itself is a big deal.
Right. I remember when Shirley Chisholm ran in 1972.
Congresswoman Chisholm?
Yep, she made history, but she was not taken as a serious contender.
No, she was not.
We have not come far in terms of women. The hardest glass ceiling. I think that LGBTQ people, even people of color who face terrible discrimination, do not face the discrimination women face. And I write about this and I say women's likability is analyzed, men's likability much less so. The likability of women is a topic. Why isn't it for men?
It's a double standard, to say the least. Stephen, I wish we had more time. Can I plug the book again?
Please do. Thank you.
It's called The Turn On: How the Powerful Make Us Like Them. From Washington to Wall Street to Hollywood, Steven Goldstein. Brilliant, thoughtful. Will be a rabbi soon.
Thanks.
All the best, my friend.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Stay right there. I'm Steve Adubato. This is One on One. We'll be right back.
One on One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. This special edition of One on One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Holy Name Medical Center, the Russell Berry Foundation, the Turrell Fund, supporting Right from the Start NJ, Delta Dental of New Jersey, Johnson & Johnson, Fedway Associates, Adler Aphasia Center, and by Berkeley College. Promotional support provided by AM 970 The Answer, and by NJ.com. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.